So this lab is called as a computer aided modeling and analysis. So which is abbreviated as CAMA, comma lab. And here in this session, we will be doing three problems which are related to a one-dimensional problems. So the first problem is bar of a constant cross-section area, and the second one is a tapered bar cross-section, and the third one is a stepped bar system. Okay, so before that, I will just give an overview of what is called as the software, that is ANSYS software. So if we go to the design department, like we can classify the softwares based on the applications. So one, we call it as a CAD, so that is computer aided design, and second one we call it as a computer aided engineering. So these are the two different department in the design, within the design department. So when we say a CAD, we will create a 2D sketch, and from that 2D sketch we will create a 3D sketch. So the 3D sketch or the 3D model can be imported into a analysis softwares like ANSYS, Abacus, LS-DYNA, Nastran. So what are those softwares? So one is ANSYS, second one is Abacus, third one is LS-DYNA, fourth is Nastran. And also, other than these softwares, there are many other CAE softwares. They are called as a CAE, computer aided engineering softwares, wherein it will conduct a numerical analysis and give the result. In the form of stresses, displacements, and the forces that are acting onto the structure. And depending upon the stresses, we can justify whether the stresses are within the limits or they are beyond the yield strength. And if the stresses encountered in the model is more than the yield strength, we have to rethink on the changing the CAD design, and again this cycle continues. Like we will recreate, we will modify the CAD, and then we will again take into a CAE software and do the analysis. Again we will cross check with the stresses with the yield strength, and if it is within the yield strength, then the design is safe for the given factor of safety. So likewise, for your syllabus, for the 6th semester BTU syllabus, we have a software called as a ANSYS. So ANSYS APDL. So again in ANSYS, there are two things. One is called as a ANSYS APDL. APDL means Automatic Programming Language, APDL. And the second one is a Workbench. So they are abbreviated as a WB, Workbench. So these are the two different softwares. So within the ANSYS. Okay. So whatever we are dealing is in this session will be on the ANSYS APDL. Okay. So we will try to explore that with a few examples. So let me start with the software. To start the software, actually I have already started this. You have to go to the start button and there go to all programs. Under that you can see the ANSYS 10 version. So click on this and you have to click on this ANSYS and it will start. Okay. So once this is done, once this is done, it will open up with this software. So let me share. I think I have to share the screen also. Okay. So I think the screen is visible now. So once we open the software, so it looks something like this. So I'll go to the file and I'll say start and clear. We'll start from the fresh window. So this is the window of the ANSYS APDL. Okay. So under ANSYS APDL, you can see that if I see the CAE software, there are major three processes or the steps that we have to follow. So first we call it as a preprocessor. In a preprocessor, we will create the geometry and then that geometry is converted into a meshing. So that we call it as a discretization. So discretization is nothing but the splitting of the structure into a small number of pieces, and each small piece is called as an element. So in the sense, what the preprocessor refers to the discretization or a meshing process, wherein we will be defining different types of elements, then we will be assigning the material properties, then we will be assigning the section properties, and then we go for the what is called as the modeling, like defining the loads and boundary conditions. So let me give a brief explanation of that process. So already that you have come across in the theory part. So what is the first step? First step is a preprocessor. Pre means before. Processor means it processes the process, the steps. So first one is a preprocessor. Here we do a discretization. Like if this is a CAD model, then I will split this into a small number of pieces, and each small pieces is called as an element. Okay, so these elements are called as this forming of this elements, we call it as a meshing. Okay, so once the mesh is defined, I have to assign the what is called as the material properties. So what are material properties? So material properties refers to the properties of a material, like Young's modulus, density, and if you are conducting a thermal analysis, we have to give a thermal conductivity. So I will say the second step is assigning the material. So in while assigning the material, I should know what is the Young's modulus. I'll just abbreviate it as a E. So like suppose if it is a steel, I have to take it as a 2.1 e raised to 5 megapascal is a Young's modulus of a steel. Suppose if I go for the aluminum, it will be a 70 gigapascal. So depending upon the material, these Young's modulus will be varying. Similarly, I have to assign what is called as a rho, that is density. So if I take consider density of a material steel, it is a 7.85 e raised to minus 9 tons per mm cube. So you should be very clear with the units. So if you do a mistake in giving, if you use a wrong units, obviously the results that comes out of the answers will not be accurate and it will be an error. Okay, so these are the material properties. So first step is meshing, second step is assigning a material, third step is element type. So element type is whether I should use a 1D element, 2D element, or a 3D element. So that we will be, I will be showing how to do that one. So it can be 1D, it can be 2D, or it can be a 3D like this. Okay. But here, once the elements are defined, I will be assigning what are the section properties. Section property refers to the, suppose if I define a 1D element like this, so it will have some cross section area like this. So this we call it as assigning a cross section. Like this is a bar. So actually we will be defining only this point, and then I will define that as a line element. And in order to assign the section, I have to give what is the cross section area of this one. So that's we call it as a section properties of a structure. So once I have assigned the section properties, the next step will be a defining of the loads and boundary conditions. Loads and boundary conditions means, suppose if I take this as a cantilever beam, so I have to fix here, right, on a left hand side. So I have to fix this boundary conditions, then I will apply a load. So it can be a tip load like this. So these we refer to it as loads and boundary conditions. So loads refers to the external forces that are acting on the structure, and the boundary conditions refers to the whether how they are constrained and where they are constrained. Okay, so that's about loads and boundary conditions. So once all these processes are done, so this process, the whole of the process that I explained just now, we call it as a pre-processing. Pre-processing means before solving or before processing the problem. So that we call it as a pre-processor step. So in a pre-processor step, what are the different things that we are going? We will discretize, we will assign the material, we will assign the element type, then we define the loads and boundary conditions. This all together forms what is called as a pre-processor. And there is no hard and fast rule like you have to follow in this way only. Like you can, if you want to define elements first, you can do it, and later you can assign a material. So vice versa is also okay, but always it is mandatory you follow this step. Okay. So once pre-processor is done, we have to solve this problem. So to solve this problem, first I have to identify what is the type of analysis I have to do. So whether it is a static analysis, dynamic analysis, or the transient analysis, whether it is a thermal analysis and all. So once I identify what type of analysis I am doing, so accordingly I have to choose a particular analysis method. Okay, so I'll just give a hint of this one. And in a theory section, we study about this. What are the different type of analysis? So in a broad classification, if I take analysis, analysis can be broadly classified as one is static and another one is dynamic. So again, in a dynamic, there are so many other things like steady state, transient, frequency response, modal analysis and all. So let us not jump into that. So think only of the first these two things, and we will try to write an equation for this. So how does the static equation looks like? The static equation, like if you have, if you do the first module, in the first module we have studied about something called as F is equal to K into X. So here there is no time factor. So if the time factor is there, then it is classified as a dynamic. If a time factor is not there, then we call it as a static analysis. Static means the loads are not going to change with the time. Over a long period of time, the loads remains a constant. Okay, so there is no change in the loads. So such a situation we call it as a static analysis. For example, if you are sitting on the chair, so the weight of the person is not going to change when you are sitting on the chair unless you move yourself on the chair. So such a condition we call it as a static. The same analysis can be converted as a dynamic, like if you are moving continuously while sitting on the chair, like you are moving back and forth. So in the sense, the loads that is transferred to the chair structure will be varying with the time. So such a things we call it as a dynamic analysis. Now, how does the dynamic analysis equation looks like? So it can be represented as F is equal to M double dot X plus C X dot plus K into X. So what is the meaning here? Suppose just you see this equation and the first equation, that is F is equal to K into X. So this K into X is also there in the dynamic analysis. Okay, in the sense here it is X is not a time factor, but if I see X dot is nothing but a differentiation of a X. So X, if I differentiate it, it will be a dx by dt. So this dx by dt can be written as X dot. So which is nothing but with the change in the time, what is the change in the displacement? So that will give the a velocity factor. So when a velocity factor is there, it becomes a dynamic. Similarly, there is the acceleration. If I differentiate this X dot once again, so it will be a x d2 x by dx dt square. So it will be a double differentiation of X. So which is nothing but a acceleration. Okay. So in the sense it becomes a X double dot. Okay. So in the sense X dot and X double dot are depending upon the time. So if the time comes into picture, then we call that an analysis as a dynamic analysis. Okay. So if you see this equation, if the time is not changing, the load is not changing with the time. So if I don't differentiate it, this becomes X double dot becomes 0, X dot will also become a 0 because there is no change in a time, or there is no change of a load with respect to a time. In the sense, if these two are 0, again my equation will be a static. F is equal to K into X. So it is similar to this one. So this is the difference between a dynamic analysis and static analysis. And today we will be doing a static analysis. So that is F is equal to K into X as an equation. So that I'll try to do with one simple example of considering a bar with a constant cross section area. So let me open that slide. So here is a slide. So if you see this one, so there is a bar with a constant cross section area. So in the sense, the cross section area will be a constant. Okay, and it has some length of 1000 mm, and they have given a Young's modulus as 2.1 into 10 raised to 5 Newton per mm square. And I am pulling this bar with the axial load of 1000 Newton. Okay, and at the other end it is fixed in all degrees of freedom. So this is a problem. Already we have solved this problem in a first module. So now that is what the manual method of solving the problem with using a numerical approach. Now we will take the help of the software to solve this one, and we will compare these results with the hand calculation results. Okay, so after that we will be doing this problem, so which is a tapered cross section area. So here it is basically how we have to modify, or how we have to approximate the sections of a tapered bar. So that we will try to understand. And the third one is a stepped bar. Okay, so we will try to solve these three problems. So let us start with that software. So this is a ANSYS software, and here let me go with the first thing. So here there is something called as a preference. Okay, so before that I want to tell you one more thing. So once the preprocessor DIN is done, it will be going for a solving. So that we call it as a solution. And after that, we have to do a post process. Post means after. Post process, after solving, what are the things that we have to do? Like after solving, we have to check for the deformation, we have to check for the stresses, and those deformation and the stresses should be compared with a standard, that is Young's modulus in case of a material, and deformation if at all we have it. Okay, so if they are within the limit, then we have to say that okay, the structure is safe for the given loads. Okay, so that concludes the solving of a numerical problem. So what it includes? It includes three steps, major three steps. One is pre-processor, second one is solution or solving, the third one is post-processing. These three steps will give you a result of a finite element method. Now, when I start the software, you can see that this where I am moving the cursor is called as a graphics window, and this is a side panel wherein you will get a different commands to operate, and this we call it as a main panel or a main panel bar, wherein you can save the file and open the file and so many other activities. So we will try to explore those things as and when we do it. So first thing is what? Let me create a new file. I'll go to a file and I will say it as a save as. Okay, save as, and you can select any one of the the folder, and under a folder you can give some name. So I will say bar underscore cross section CS. Okay, bar underscore cross section, and don't try to give a special characters and all while saving the file name. It should only include a plain text with the underscore if you want to differentiate between the two words. And .db refers to the database. D stands for data, B stands for a base. So it is .db file. So this is the extension file that will be recognized by the ANSYS. So this file cannot be opened in any other softwares other than the ANSYS. So that is one condition. So DB stands for database. So once I save this one, I can say okay. So the file will be saved there. So once I save the file, I have to go for the preferences. Under preferences, you can see that there are so many analysis that are there. So I will select on a structural. So if you want to do a thermal, you have to click on a thermal. So there can be a combination of the structural as well as a thermal, that we call it as a thermomechanical analysis. So if you are doing a fluid, then you have to go for the fluid. So CFD also refers to the computational fluid dynamics. So as of now, we will stick to the basic fundamental, that is called as a structural analysis. Other than that, there is also called as a electromagnetic analysis. So which is related to mechatronics or electrical or electronics engineers can do it. So even you people can do this analysis also. As of now, we will stick to the structural. So once I click on the structural, I have to say okay. So now the panel is ready to do the structural analysis. So once that is done, I will go to the preprocessor. In a preprocessor, I told I have to first define the element type. So under element type, click on this element type. So if you want to expand, you have to just click on this plus or minus sign. So if you click on a plus, it will expand. If you click once again on a minus sign, it will compress or a shrink. So I will click on the element type. Under that, I will go for a edit, add, edit, or a delete. Click on this, a new window pops up. So when a new window pops up, here I have to say add to define a new element. So when you click on the add, you can see a number of elements. So under that, I will click on this link. So under link element, I will click on this 2D spar 1. Okay, so don't bother about what type of element and all it is. Now it is called as a link 180. Okay, so when you study about that link 180, the definition of that link will be given in a manual. So as of now, we will stick to the link 2D spar 1, and I will say okay. Now you can see that type 1 link 1. Suppose if I want to delete it, I can delete this. So I can delete. Again, if you want, you can add. Go to add. Now I want this 180, link 180 I want. So I will click on the 3D finite strain 180 element. I will say okay. So when I define this one, you can see that type 1 link 180. Suppose if you have done any mistake, again you can delete it and redefine. Okay. So once this is defined, I will say close. Now the element type is defined as link 180. Okay. So once the element is defined, I have to define what is called as the cross section area. That we call it as a real constant. Real constant refers to the cross section area or the properties of the sections. So under this, I will click on a edit, add, or a delete. Again, there is nothing here. I have to define add. So when I add to the add something, it will ask to which element you want to assign, because in a model there can be a different elements also. Like I have showed a one element with the link 1 and the second I deleted it. Later I defined the 180. Suppose what happens if there are two elements, link 1 and link 180. So these two type of element might have a different cross section area. So under that, it is asking to which element I have to assign. So that has to be highlighted and say okay. So to this element, the cross section area is there. So that is area. So as of now, I will take it as a 100 mm square. So don't bother about the values now. So I am saying it is a, if you have a calculated area, you can assign that one. So for understanding purpose, we will assign it as a 100 mm square as a cross section area. And I will say okay. And also you notice that it has given a ID 1. So this will be taken automatically by the system. So it will assign a IDs to that section. Like you have a university number, right? So it is similar to that. So it is a unique number. University number for a particular student is very unique. So there cannot be a duplication of the USN number. Similarly, there won't be any duplication of this section IDs. So it has generated on its own. Okay. Suppose if I create another section, it will assign that as a 2 and it will create a new section. So ID of the real constant is 1 and the cross section is 100 mm square. So I'll say okay, then I will close. So it has created a set whose ID is 1. Suppose if I add another one, it will create a set and ID will be 2. So as of now, we will keep only 1. So once the area is assigned, I have defined an element, then I have defined an area. Then we have to go for a material properties. Under a material properties, so there is a command called as a material models. So click on this, a new window pops up. So when a new window pops up, you can see that material model number 1. It has automatically created assigned a section ID for the material, that is 1. So under this, I will click on the structural. So you have to double click on this structural and double click on the linear, double click on the elastic and double click on the isotropic. So what it is saying here is the material is linear elastic isotropic material. The definition of the material is linear isotropic elastic material. That is the meaning. So it is a structural material, it is a linear, and it is a isotropic and elastic in nature. So that is the meaning of this, all these three commands. So under this, I will say EX. EX stands for the Young's modulus. So it is 2.1 e raised to 5. So it is nothing but 2.1 into 10 raised to 5 Newton per mm square or a megapascal. So Poisson's ratio, PR stands for Poisson's ratio. So Poisson's ratio, I will give it as a 0.3. So these are the material properties of a steel. Okay. So I will say okay. So as of now, I will define only the linear elastic properties. So there is no need to give the density because I am not interested in studying the self weight of the structure. So you can ignore this. Suppose if you want to assign, you have to click on this density, double click on that one and assign those material properties. So once the material property is created, you can see that material is created here. So linear isotropic material. So if you double click it, again it will ask you to modify. If you want, if you have done any mistake in entering the material properties, you can just double click on this one and you can modify and say okay. Okay. So once the material properties is defined, I have to go for what? The modeling. So section is already defined here. So I have to go for a modeling. So in the modeling, what the thing here is, because there is nothing I have created here, right? Modeling refers to the 3D CAD model. Okay. But here the 3D CAD model is converted into a line element. And to that line element, I am assigning the cross section area. So what I want here is I have to create a line model. So I'll go to the modeling, click on this create and go to the first I have to create a nodes. So click on this nodes and under this you have to click on a inactive CS mode. So CS mode means coordinate system. In an active coordinate system, the coordinate system is active for this. So whatever like this refers to, this is a coordinate system whose origin is x is equal to 0, y is equal to 0, z is equal to 0. So now this refers to the coordinates x, y, z location in active coordinate system. So if I don't give anything here, so it will be assumed as 0, or I will feed it now. I will give x is equal to 0, y is equal to 0, z is equal to 0. Okay. And also here it is showing a node number. So as of now, you leave it as it is because it will automatically assign the node numbers by itself. The software will assign the node number by itself. So don't give anything under this panel. So it will take it. Now what I will do, once I give this coordinates, I will say apply. So when I say apply, there will be a node that will be created at this point at a origin 0, 0, 0, x0, y0, z0. So it will be assigned with the node number 1. So you cannot see that because of this coordinate system. We will try to see now when I create the second node. So the second node is in the x direction, it is 100, y direction 0, z direction 0. Then again I will say apply. So when I say apply, you can see that a node number 2 is created here. Node number 1 is at this origin and node number 2 is at this point. Okay. Now, what is the difference between this OK and apply? So when I say apply, it will create the node and it will retain this window as it is. Okay. So it will not go off. But if I say OK, it goes off. Okay. So in the sense, if I want to create more and more numbers, I have to say apply unless you want to come out. Suppose if you want to come out of this window, you have to say okay. Now what I will do, I will say the third node is at a x is equal to 200, y is equal to 0, z is equal to 0. Now I want to come out. So I want to create only two elements of a length 100 mm. Okay. So each element will have a 100 mm. Now if I click on OK, it will come out. Suppose if I say apply, it will be creating the third node and it will keep this window open. Okay. Now I don't want that. So I will say OK. Now if you see that, you can see the third node that will be created. Now what I have defined, I have defined only the nodes. So now after the defining the nodes, I have to create elements. So below the nodes, there is an option called as a element. And in the element, you have to assign the element attribute. Click on this one and you can see that it is saying what are the properties of an element that you are going to create. So I am telling the element type is link 180, the material is 1, whose Young's modulus is 2.1 e raised to 5 and Poisson's ratio is 0.3 that we have assigned. And also the area of a cross section is a real constant. I told that it will create an ID. So whose cross section area was 100 mm square. So once I create this one, I have to say okay. So in the sense, whatever the elements that are creating, those elements will take these attributes, these properties. So that is the meaning. So before creating, you have to say element attributes. So once that is done, I have to go to the auto numbered. Auto numbered means automatically it will create elements. Okay. Now, when I click on this auto number through nodes, it will ask pick. So if I say this has to be a pick node and I will pick this. Okay, you can see that a rectangular box or a square box is created, it means that it has picked the node 1 and I will pick a second node. Okay, so once I select a first and second node, now I have it is ready to create a element. So I have to say apply now. So when I say apply, you can see that the element is created in a cyan color. So the first element is created. The second element is click on this and this. So node number 2 and node number 3. So I will say now I want to come out because I need only 2 elements. So I have to say okay. So once I do that one, the 2 elements are created which are connected between 1 and 2, 2 and 3. Okay. So the element definition is done. After that, I have to define material loads and boundary conditions, right? So to do that one, minimize this, and under this there is a something called as a loads. So here is a load. So under loads there is an option called as a define loads. So click on this define loads, and under that you can find the structural, and under that you have to go for the displacements. So what is this displacement means? I told in the PPT it is fixed in this condition. So the displacement of this point is 0, right? So that we call it as a displacement boundary conditions. So in a sense, I have to go for this displacement, and where you want to give that displacement on the nodes, because I have first created the nodes right here. So I have to select on nodes. There are different options like online, on area, on key points and all. So here you have to create on a nodes. So once I click on this nodes, I have to pick this node. So you can see that I have picked the node, and also it will show how many nodes you have picked. So the count is 1. So how many nodes are there? Maximum 3 nodes are there. Minimum 1 node is there, and node number that I have picked is 1. So that is the information it is giving. Now I have to say okay. So once I click on the OK button, it will pop up with the different boundary conditions. So all DOF means totally there will be a 6 degrees of freedom. A node or any point in a space will have a 6 degrees of freedom. The first 3 degrees of freedom are called as a translation. So it is 1, 2 and 3. So 1 refers to the X translation, 2 refers to the Y translation, 3 refers to the Z translation. And also 4, 5, 6 are rotational degrees of freedom. 4 refers to the X rotation, 5 refers to the Y rotation, 6 refers to the Z rotation. So I will say all degrees of freedom. Suppose if you pick a UX, only X degrees of a translation is fixed. If I click on a Y, X, UY, it is a Y degrees of freedom. Y translation is fixed. If I click on a Z, it will be a Z translation. So now I have to click on a all degrees of freedom. Okay. So I will say okay. So when I click that one, you can see a rectangular icons that pops up. So you might be knowing that this we used to create in a mom or a mom subject, like we used to create a supports like this, right? So it indicates the boundary conditions. So once the boundary condition is applied, I have to apply the force here. So this force refers to this force. So 1000 Newton is I am applying, right? So I have to apply a load at a node 3 whose magnitude is 1000. So under this, what I have to apply? I have to click on the force. So now displacement is done. I have to click on the force. So force I have to apply on the nodes. Again, you can apply the force on all these components, like on key points, on nodes, on node components on. So I will click on the nodes and I will pick the node where I want to select. So you can see again the information, the count that is selected is 1, maximum nodes are 3, minimum nodes are 1, and node number that picked is 3. So that is the meaning. So I will say apply, okay or apply. So when I click on apply, okay, it will ask how should I apply the load, whether I should apply in a X direction, Y direction or Z direction. So those directions are available here. If it is X is this, y is vertical to that, and z is perpendicular to the screen. So now I want to apply the force in a fx direction. So the constant value. So the load is not varying. So I will give it as a constant value, and I have to apply a 1000 Newton force. So I will say okay to this. So once I say that one, once I click on OK, you can see here a red arrow mark that is appearing. So which indicates that the force is applied. So this completes the what definition of a pre-processing. So what I have done here, I have defined elements, I have defined a cross-section area, then I have defined material properties, and after that we have created elements, and also the loads and boundary conditions are applied. So once that is done, I have to solve for this. So the second step in the finite element method is what? The solving. First is a pre-processor, second is a solution, third one is a post-processing. So under a solution, I have to go for a solve. So when I click on this current ls means current load case or a current load status. Okay. So we call with the different names. You can see that current load step, current load case, current load what status. So all these three can be called, but you prefer to it as a load step, current load step. Okay, I'll say okay. So once that is done, it will solve and it will give a message. Solution is done. So once the solution is done, I have to close it. I have to close this option also, and then the second step is done, that is solution. The third step is what? Post processing. So you have to click on this general post processing. Under that, you go to the contour plots, or you can go to the deformed shape. So let us keep this as a simple. We will take it, this contour plot in a second problem. So I'll click on this deformed shape, and under that you can see that there are three things. So deformed shape only, deformed plus undeformed shape, deformed and undeformed edge. So always try to keep the second one, deformed plus undeformed. What is the meaning of this one? Now the status of the model, whatever is highlighted here, is undeformed. So before applying the load, I am not what the model is not deformed. So that is the meaning of a undeformed. So deformed means when I apply a load, it will undergo a deformation in x direction, because the load is in x direction, it will undergo a deformation. So what it is saying is, you show me the image which have both the geometries, deformed as well as undeformed. So click on this icon and say okay. So once that is done, you can see that there are two colors. One is a dotted white line, which is undeformed. So that is the original without applying the load. And you can also see that there is a small projection of the blue line. Okay. So that projection is nothing but a deformation. And that deformation, how much it has deformed, is given by this DMX. So maximum deformation, that is maximum displacement, it is called as. So it is saying 0.009524, okay, mm. So of course the load is very less now. So because of that, it is showing a very less this one. So this is the deformation plot. Now suppose if I want to see the contour plots, I can go to the nodal solution or an element solution, and under this, if you want to see the stress plots, so I'll click on the stress, and under this I will click on the von Mises, and I will say okay. So here now it is showing the the stress plot. Okay. So similarly, if you go to the nodal solutions and click on this you can see the deformation using this also. So you can see that how the deformation. So if you see this deformation at the left hand side, where it is showing the blue color, and you see the legend. So this we call it as a legend bar. Okay. So in a legend bar, you can see that it is 0. Why? Because it is fixed. It was like a cantilever beam, right? But of course it is not cantilever beam because I'm not applying the load transfers to this one. It is an axial load. but here it is fixed and it will not allow it to move. So it is 0 here. Okay, so as we go here, it is showing a stretch. So at this point where it is showing the red line, so the maximum displacement is ranging from 0.008466 to 0.009524. So this is the band of the deformation that is happening, and you have to just refer to the colors and the corresponding values. You can find it here. Okay, similarly you can find the nodal solution for the stress also. So click on this stress, on Mrs. stress, and say okay. So it is showing a simple stress. The reason here is the cross section, the stress is constant throughout the structure. Okay, suppose if it is bending, then the stress variation can be seen, but here since it is a cross section and it is an axial load, the stresses are uniform throughout the structures. That is the meaning of this. Okay, so this we call it as a post processing. Post processing means we have to see the deformation and stresses, and after that again I have to go to the file and I have to save this file once again. If it is, you can go to the save as a job name .db. So whatever the file that I have saved, it will be saved. Or if you want to save it as a different file, you can go to the save as, and again you can give a different name. Let me give it as a bar underscore cross section underscore 1 as a db. Okay, so this completes the first problem. So I hope I think we will stop here, because there was an introduction part also here in this part. So I will solve the other two problems in the next session, because the video will be too long. Okay. So if you have any queries, we can discuss offline, or I will stop the recording and then we will discuss on the questionnaires. Okay.